Prepare to be captivated by the business story of the week, hosted by me, Shaahin. Join us on a journey through the twists and turns of entrepreneurial triumphs and setbacks. Immerse yourself in the narrative and witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. This is Business Story of the Week. Hey, Kevin, welcome.
Mr. Harrington has arrived in the house.
Hey, boy, I was on another link for the last 9 minutes. Don't know what happened, but okay. How we doing?
Oh man, sorry about that. Well, I'm glad we got you. We've been talking to our audience on Instagram Live, and we are now live on Facebook. So I know both Bart and I are super excited to talk to you, and we're big fans, and we've got lots of great questions for you.
Super.
So Bart, why don't you give Kevin a little intro here and tell our audience about who Kevin is and what he's done.
Sure. So we kind of started the show already a little bit, but this is Hack and Grow Rich. It's a show for entrepreneurs. We talk about ways to make more money, have better mindset. Shaahin has sold over $1 billion in products by the time he was 22. Just a great story in his new book. I wrote a couple of books in my 20s. I've run a number of businesses, and our guest is so spectacular. So I'm really honored to have you here, Kevin. Now, a lot of you may recognize Kevin from Shark Tank. He's one of the first sharks. But a lot of people don't know is that you produced or you created this entire genre of infomercials called As Seen on TV. And you were a self-made millionaire way before you were 30, and you probably sold $1 billion in products. Did I miss anything really important to make you look like a total rock star?
You know, I like it. Did you mention that you said I was a shark, I think, didn't you? Did we talk about that? I don't remember, but I did a couple of seasons there. That was a lot of fun. It's actually, we're now at about 6 billion in total sales over the last, of course, you know, you were 22 when you did $1 billion. That's pretty amazing. Okay. It took me till I was 30, I think, to get my first billion. But we've had a lot of great projects over the years, and thanks for the introduction. It was a great.
You're welcome. I think Shaahin's got a number of questions for you, and I'm going to chime in. It's going to be a great, fun hour. Thanks for being here.
Cool.
Yeah, we're super excited, and I've been doing a deep dive into your world, so that's super exciting. So I learned that you were the son of a bartender from Ohio.
Yep.
One of 6. You were the middle child, is that right?
Fourth, right.
The fourth. And you went on to being more successful presumably than the rest of your family. What did you do differently?
Well, let's see. I think, first of all, my father was, he was an entrepreneur. I mean, he started as a bartender, but he wanted to own his own bar. So he was saving up money to be able to open up his own place. Harrington's Irish Pub was one of his first places. Of course, when I was 11 years old, I started. So I think that's the first thing. I took action, right? I was one of 6. I had older brothers and sisters and younger, but when he opened the bar, who was in there bar backing, cleaning the dishes, working 40 hours a week at 11 years old, literally. And so I wanted to be around the excitement, the business, the family business, right? And in fact, I'll never forget my father in the Super Bowl this past couple of 3 weeks ago. The Bengals, I'm from Cincinnati, they were playing, and they go back to a bar in Cincinnati, and it's my father's MLT, the Mount Lookout Tavern that he opened 55 years ago. Still there. He sold it, but I worked there. That's minutes from the home I grew up in. And this is back and forth live from the Mount Lookout Tavern in Cincinnati, where the Bengals Super Bowl fans are, right? I mean, I loved it. So I took action. I wanted to be around my father, who taught me a lot. By the time I was 15, I said, Dad, it's fun working in this business, family business, but when am I going to make money? And he said, you have to start your own business. Okay. He said, I can pay you a little more maybe, but that you're not going to get rich working for somebody else. And so side by side with my father, I was in and out of working his places for about 4 or 5 years until when I was 15, I started my own driveway sealing business to make my own money. And all of a sudden, this is back in the this is back in like the early 70s. I was generating $1,000 a week in net income in the 70s doing driveway sealing. I mean, you know how fast some of these things can take off. So I think probably my two older sisters were school teachers, and my mother was a school teacher, and my brother went the corporate route. And then here I was hanging with my father, the entrepreneur, saying, I want to be an entrepreneur. And that was the vision he had. And he really mentored me to be an entrepreneur.
Kevin, one of the first sales experience I ever had, I was probably 13, and I was selling these little Rubik's Cubes and these things from high school, right? We go to the swap meet. And I learned firsthand that if you can sell, you can have money in your pocket. Like at 13 years old, like the swap meets and stuff. Is there a moment when you decided that like selling is a key skill that I have to master? And how would you get your kids or people that are listening now that still have the JOB, but they don't realize that entrepreneur and sales are so interlinked?
So I'll never forget, I started this driveway sealing business. And so I was 15. I didn't drive, didn't have a car, didn't have a license. So I jumped on my bike, drove into neighborhoods and hid the bike because I didn't want them to see that, and then knocked on doors. And the first day out, I knocked on 20 doors, pretty much got 20 doors slammed in my face. Look, kid, I'm eating dinner. You're bothering me here, you know? And so I was like, oh my God, this is tough. I don't know if this is going to work. So finally I figured out, you know what I didn't have? I didn't have any point of reference. I'm a young kid showing up. So what I said, I got to get one job in this neighborhood first. And then I got credibility. So I got a guide. I said, look, this is not $100. I'm going to do it for the cost of the material. It cost me $20. And I said, but you have to give me a testimonial. I want to be able to use the before and the after. I want to put a sign across the driveway, and boom, I did that first driveway. Now I went back in the same neighborhood, and of course it was a little different now because now he's getting more confidence because I could point to that across the street. But somebody say, look, I don't have time. I'd say, hey, no problem. You know, those cracks in your driveway that when the water freezes in the winter and it triples the size of those cracks, when you have time to talk about that, here's my number and you can call me. And he's like, well, wait a minute. What cracks are you talking about that are going to triple? I'm like, let me show you. Come on out. I know you don't have any time, but let me show you these cracks here. And boom, now I'm selling that one. The neighbor, 18 jobs I sold in the same neighborhood. I got turned down by everybody. It was an element of having a reference point for the folks, because it's no secret. There's all kinds of burglars in the business of knocking on doors and taking money from consumers. So, but here it started off great, but I'm going to add one more thing to this, because knocking on doors and selling driveway sealing, it was fairly easy for me. Because we do a job, we had credibility, and all of a sudden I had 50, 100, 200 jobs that I could give them references on. But there was a point in my life when I was selling a safety baby high chair. And this was after I started the driveway sealing business. It was a company called Baby Tenda. And this was back in the 70s, it sold for over $300. In today's world, that's over $1,000 for a high chair. But it was safety, and baby could not fall out of it, could not climb out of it, couldn't tip over. It converted to a desk, to a bassinet, to all these different functions. And make a long story short, I worked a 17-page script that I learned, and I learned how to one-call close. And that was an amazing time of my life, because learning how to sell is an important thing. I used a lot of all of these learnings from the early days as I got into infomercials and as seen on TV on how to, I have a formula. It's a 3-step formula: tease, please, and seize, and get their attention with an attention-getting problem by teasing. Now you please with benefits and solutions to the problem, magical transformations, and then you seize with an irresistible offer. So this is what I was doing and eventually I finally put it into a formula that I could use myself and that I could teach to others.
So that's amazing. So we have a mutual friend, Brandon, who speaks so highly about you. He thinks the world of you.
Thank you. Good boy.
And this is one of the things that I admire most about you, that coming from where you did and arriving to where you're at, where you've made hundreds of millions of dollars and you have this great wealth, I still see the hustle in your eyes. I still see that relentlessness, that grit, that hunger. And it's rare, because usually what happens is guys get wealthy, you make your money, and then you kind of have a lot to lose. So you just go with what you're comfortable on and you retire. You are doing a ton of stuff. Like every time I go onto my Instagram, or, I search Google, there's Kevin Harrington with some other new innovative thing. It's almost like you never stop. And when I hear you talk, I'm like, man, this is that same guy that was driving down the neighborhoods, knocking on doors. He's just perfected it. He's achieved mastery at that, and he's scaled. Now, I've been talking to your son via email, who I think is also he's working with you now. If I'm not incorrect.
He's been with me for 13 years full time, out of college. He graduated from Penn State, and it's done an amazing job. He's a finance business major. Whereas I'm a dropout from college. Okay. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I hear you. I mean, I dropped out as well. I dropped out of grade school. I didn't even go to high school. But so this is my question for you. As a father, as a guy who you came from those experiences that created who Kevin Harrington is, this person that has grit, this person that has resilience. Like, you had 1,000 doors closed on you and slammed on you. And I'm sure you had some rough experiences to build this thick skin that you have, to give you the ability to reach the success that you had. Now with your kid, he presumably is living a life of luxury. Dad's a millionaire, right? How do you instill that same grit, that same resilience? How did you do it? Because it seems like he's being very successful in life, and, working with you, helping you out, doing his own thing. And, I'm sure he's going to be every bit as successful as his father. How do you do that when there aren't those those initial hardships that you had to go through?
Yeah. It is a little tougher. I mean, I will say this. I have two boys. Brian is 33 and I have a 24-year-old. So I make them I make them work. I make them work hard. I make them start at the bottom. When Brian started with me years ago, when he graduated from Penn State, I actually wouldn't bring him into the family business. I said, you need to go out in the world, because you come into the family business, you're gonna be thinking, you come in, put your feet up on the table, and hey, my dad's the owner, and I get to hang out here. It's like, no. You go out, learn how the world works, spend a year at least doing that. And he went to work for Sprint and was in corporate sales. And I said, so what do you, after he went through a training program, I said, what are you doing today? He said, oh, well, they brought out the yellow pages and said, okay, Brian, today you call on car dealers. Tomorrow you're going to call on beauty salons. It's like cold calling, right? So he got his ass handed to him for a year in a corporate environment and realized life's tough. It's not easy. You get up every single day and they are on you for 8 hours a day. How many contacts, how many sales, how many this? And so finally he said, can I interview in the family business? And he came in and he did. And he started at the very bottom. He started in the grunt positions, and in product development, finding products, going to trade shows, searching through catalogs, et cetera, watching the shopping channels. And then as we moved him along, he got involved in all aspects of the business. He had a stint in the production side, helping produce the infomercials, and the writing side, and the operation side, and product development. But at the end of all of that, after a few years, he was running AsSeenOnTV.com, which was one of our assets, the website AsSeenOnTV. And so, make a long story short, I have, the kids I haven't shared the wealth with them. I'm making them work for it. But what I am doing is this. I end up, part of my business model is working with public companies and all of that. So I'm involved with about 35 companies that I've invested in or I sit on the board of. And some of, a nice piece of those are public. So when I get stock in a public company, I now am allocating shares to certainly Brian, who's involved in these relationships, and then my other son also. And now I'm letting them get in on the ground floor of some of these opportunities. I am letting them invest in some of these opportunities if they want, and I'll help them in some of these cases. But they really have to be, they're self-starters, and they're out there doing it every step of the way the same way I did. There's no big a big heap of money at the end of the rainbow sitting there for them. Now that's when I die, but let's not talk about that. Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna have to get them on the podcast too. I think it'll be interesting to talk to them about lessons that they've learned from you. All right. So I noticed also on, I think it was a Google ad or an Instagram ad, that you have is it a publishing company where people can sign up and get you to endorse a book or something that they're doing? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So we write, one of the big things for me over the years that it was a game changer. I was sitting down in Necker Island with Richard Branson and hanging out with some cool people, and I was looking for some advice from Branson, and as we're talking, it's like he knew a little bit about the SC and TV business I'd been involved with, but he said, "But Kevin, I don't see much on your branding." He said, "You're a great entrepreneur. You've had success, and I see, you did Tony Little and you did Jack LaLanne's Juicer and George Foreman, but where's Kevin Harrington?" So I said, "Oh, wow." I said, I guess what you're telling me is I haven't built my brand. So I left Necker Island with a passion to elevate my brand and start doing things. So I started writing books. And my first book, the author got over $50,000 plus travel, plus this. It took me 2 years to write it. By the time I was done with PR and this and that, it cost me over $100,000 to publish it, and 2 years of my life. And I said, and it had very powerful impact for me as an entrepreneur, because I got on 100 radio shows and I got into speaking and all kinds of stuff. But I said, there's got to be a better way to write a book. And so I now put books out where I'll allow authors to be part of the book with me. So I'll write it, a chapter, and then each person gets to put a chapter in. So we've done strategic books. I'll just show you, a few of these along the way if I can find one. Well,
yeah, Kevin. While Kevin's looking for that book, guys,
I have one right next to me, but I don't. But
okay, yeah.
Anyway, it's a great way for somebody to be able to get a chapter in a book, be part of it, get a bestseller status, and now they can get on talk shows and help build their brand and radio shows. And so, for example, just hang one second. I'm going to show you one of the books here.
Yeah. And guys, for you guys who are just joining us now, make sure to check us out on the YouTube channel, Hack and Grow Rich. We've got Kevin Harrington, one of the original sharks from Shark Tank. So make sure you find us there. For anybody who's checking us out on Facebook Live, if you have questions, we're going to try to get to a couple questions. I can't promise that we'll get to audience questions by the end of this because we've got limited time. We started a little bit late, but Kevin may or may not be answering questions, but we can take those questions later offline. Bart and I can. So feel free to ask questions to Kevin or questions to Bart and I. And we definitely are going to try to get Kevin on again for another episode sometime in the future, and also his sons to tell us some of the lessons that they've learned from their father. But go right ahead, Kevin, show us.
So when you think of financial advisors, right, they're very smart people, but they typically aren't necessarily the greatest marketers in the world. And I don't want to put everybody in that pigeonhole, but here is a book that I wrote called Build Wealth Like a Shark. And then on the back are 31 financial advisors who have chapters in this book. This was a global bestseller, and we've done press releases, we've done videos with each of, I have videos with many of these people and then we have press releases, and then we have book releases, and et cetera, et cetera. So this has been an amazing marketing advantage for many of these financial advisors. So I've done probably about 10 of these books like this, where we have many, many people that get exposure, and they get a chance to have, I mean, for a very nominal amount of money, it's your book, your bestseller, and leveraged with the shark in the process. So it's been a very powerful marketing program for me.
Okay. So first off, I don't know what you run on. It must be rocket fuel, because you're doing so much different stuff. And tell me if I'm out of line with this question, but you presumably have made hundreds of millions. I mean, when we look on the internet, it says you're worth over $450 million. It says that's what your net worth is.
That's a lot of money. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, but look, I've done very
not living
well
in a tent.
I mean, I'm going to give you an example. This company is a company that I got involved with 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Celsius, the energy drink?
Yeah. Okay.
I jumped in as an advisor, board member, investor 10 years ago. The stock was 22 cents a share. The company was worth a couple $1 million. Let's fast forward. We took it from 22 cents to over $100 a share.
No way.
And it peaked out at over $8 billion in market cap. And we're in 180,000 stores around the world now. So this, I'm one of the kind of the founding board members. I mean, the company existed before I got involved, but it was when I jumped in with Jerry David, the CEO, and really kind of a new board 10 years ago, we went to the moon. And Celsius is a great product, but I sit on boards. And so when you see something that goes from millions to billions, there's a lot of wealth created there, right? I mean,
sure.
there was billions of dollars in wealth created. So yeah, I got a little piece of that, but that's what I like to do. I'm not a greedy guy, but hey, I brought a lot to the table, so I want to get a payday also.
Greed is good. We're all for that here. The show's called Hack and Grow Rich, and we encourage people to find unconventional hacks to creating incredible wealth. And that's really what we talk about. So I love it. I love that you have multiple streams of income. We talk about that. But I guess my question is, it seems like your interests are so spread out. Is that because you like to diversify, or is it because you like to constantly stay active? I mean, clearly you don't need the money from doing all this stuff. What's your feeling about?
Well, I mean, look, I was original shark on Shark Tank, 175 segments. Guess what? Those segments covered everything. Okay. Yeah. Kitchen, housewares, golf, jewelry, you name it, every category. And we invested. Okay. Like this is what, so I get to this day still over 1,000 pitches a month from people looking for capital, looking for help. So I don't say, oh, well, you know what? I don't invest in that category. If they've got something interesting, let's listen. Right. So I bring it to my team. We evaluate. I mean, I invest. I was over in Bombay, India, and a couple of entrepreneurs, they needed some money. They pitched me a deal. I wrote a check for 150 grand. And then the company went through COVID over there and almost went out of business, but they've now resurged. It's worth 10 times that. And it wasn't any kind of, it was a retail business in India. So it's like, I never know what is going to interest me, because if I can help, if I've got the connections and understand, I've got a pretty amazing Rolodex. I call it a golden Rolodex. For 40 years, I've been developing products, manufacturing products, shipping products, buying media and doing all the things in the whole as seen on TV space. Now we've morphed over into digital. And so when somebody brings me a product, I know right where we're going to go for manufacturing generally. And I know who I'm going to use for production and for setting up and building the websites and for then taking it into, I've got, the former president of Walmart's daughter from Bentonville, Arkansas, that is my distributor to Walmart, for example. So we use the best of the best in every category. We know who to go to, but we also, when we're evaluating something, we can take a look at it and determine whether we really have whether it's got any upside by showing it to some of our folks who are in these categories. So for example, recently somebody pitched me a dog product. Now, I will tell you that I'm not a guru in the world of dogs. I've done a lot of categories successfully, from kitchen to housewares to fitness, etc. I'm not a dog guru, but a buddy of mine, his name is Harrison Forbes. He's been on every talk show as a celebrity pet expert, from Good Morning America to the Today Show and Kelly and Regis and all those shows. And he judges in the dog contests and things like that. So I send the product over to him. He takes a look at it. He's got one significant change that he wanted to make to it. We got back to the owner. They were willing to make the change. He said, this could be a grand slam. So I don't just invest blindly. We take a pitch, we look, we see, who do we know? Can we bring some influence? Can we bring some capital? And if there's equity that we can take, hey, it can be different categories, because over the years, understanding the world of as seen on TV, it was pretty much, we dealt with damn near every category you can think of in those days. So we still have that experience and have, kind of like what is Kevin Bacon's saying? It's 6 degrees of separation. Sometimes we get 1 or 2 degrees down, and we're finding people that can bring a lot of value to the table.
I love that. Go ahead.
I don't think people really understand how miraculous this infomercial business is seen on TV, because back in the 70s and 80s, you didn't have Facebook and AdWords. You couldn't be a small entrepreneur, give them $5 and the phone would ring. Like, we have systems in place now where I just turn the ads off and the phone rings and people want to spend money. That just didn't exist in the 80s. Like, you literally invented a category. And what I want to ask you about is, as far as skill sets for entrepreneurs, understanding the one-time offer, understanding the upsells, understanding how to talk to somebody for 5 or 6 minutes and get them just burning to buy something is an art that is lost on this new generation. And so explain to me how you would take a product, and I know that you do this unconsciously, you go, that's the right offer, that's this irresistible offer, and a lot of entrepreneurs are spinning their wheels because they just don't have a good offer. They just think it's going to happen. Like, how do you get that skill if you don't have it and if you're not willing to walk on doors like you and I did when we were 15 years old? Like, how do you make that offer?
I have a formula, and I mentioned earlier, but I'm going to show you this product. This is called Peeps. The guy brings me this and said, this is going to be your next grand slam. I'm looking at it and thinking, what the heck is it, right? Well, it's an eyeglass cleaner. It's a 3-step system. The first step, the brush comes out, and you can see it, and that cleans the dust off because you don't want to scratch it. This is the next step, important one here. It opens up, and there's 2 sides to this, and it cleans both sides of your glasses simultaneously, and it's got a teardrop design to get into all the nooks and crannies, and a low profile design to get underneath the bridges. All right. Then the third step is an electrostatic cleaning system that cleans it, and it's ready to go 500 more times. Now, the company that started this, they were outselling it, but they hit a wall because it's a $15 item. And you mentioned, creating the sale, right? So the focus was, I mentioned T's, please, and C's. So the T's, you've got to get their attention, and you start with a problem. So I don't care if it's Billy Mays selling OxyClean. Within 3 seconds, he's eating a meatball sandwich, grease drips on him. Uh-oh, has this ever happened to you? How are you going to get it clean, right? Let me listen. So the T's is the 5-6 seconds at the front end. Problem, I'm in. Now, please me. And this is, showing how this does all the different demonstrations and underneath and this and both sides. It's, that is the please. You're showing benefits, magical transformations. We take a guy he rides a motorcycle. He gets off the motorcycle. He's got dirt and stuff all over his glasses. One swipe through, boom, he's instantly ready to go. So anyway, and now you mentioned the most important part though, the people selling this, they're selling it for $15. That's what it sold for, $14.95. And it was costing $18 on Facebook to get a customer. So do the math. You're not going to make money if it's costing the 18 to get 15. What we focused on, what is the average order value, okay? And this is what we've done all our lives. Somebody would call for a $29 Tony Little ab isolator. We'd average ordered that out at $80 because we were selling them vitamins and weight loss products and other gut busters and whatever, right? So here, the focus is, guess what? You wear glasses, you need more than one of these. How about your car, at the office, by the office chair, in the kitchen, in your purse? If you buy 3 of them, we're going to give you 3 absolutely free. Boom. All of a sudden, average order value goes from about $15, $18 up to $55 a sale. We've got an $18 marketing cost, but we've got a $55 revenue stream. Now that we can roll out, we took that to 15,000 orders a day for this item. We went from 0 to $100 million in sales in 18 months. So the focus, it was a product that had gone up and went down. They showed it to QVC. QVC said, we're not interested. Well, guess what? They didn't see all the amazing things we did with Facebook and Instagram and all this. And they called us back and they said, we'll take 1,000 of those. They sold them. They said, we'll take 5,000. They sold them. We'll take 25,000. They sold them. We'll take 50,000. Next order, 150,000. 600,000 pieces later from a person that said, no, this will never work on our channel. Okay. You don't give up, you keep going, and you keep seeking additional distribution streams. And so average order value, lifetime value of the customer, these are the numbers that you got to focus on.
If you sold 100 million of those, you're my hero for sure. That's amazing.
$100 million worth. So
that's still amazing. You're still my hero.
Yeah. Thank you.
So what drives you, Kevin? After all this time, after all you've done, what's the thing that makes you get out of bed with the fire that you have right now?
I've tried to retire a few times. Okay. So, what's crazy, literally, the more I push away, people, hey, I just need you for an hour a week. Okay. Type of thing. Right. So, but really my kids is what drives me. I literally would be working probably 50% less at least if my son, Brian, wasn't driving me crazy, he just brings me stuff every single day. Brian runs the company. I'm in Florida. I play golf a couple days a week. I travel, hang out. My son runs the company. And, it's like, I give him how many hours a week that I'm willing to spend. And he doubles it every week almost, because he's, Dad, this is a hot one. You got to take a look at it. I'm like, I don't know, Brian. And I provide advisory services to my own kids, if you know what I'm saying. But, I enjoy seeing, Brian now has equity in probably 24 companies. He's a huge crypto guy. He's into the NFTs. And his younger brother is just now starting to get involved in equity plays with some of the pubcos that we're involved with. So I'm starting, my 24-year-old is just getting to where he's understanding all this stuff. And so, he'll start picking up some equities in some of these deals. So I want them to have their own portfolios and they can see the ups and the downs. And of course, my youngest, his first $2,000 investment in crypto he lost it in 48 hours, so I love for them to see the ups and the downs, right? Because not everything works, right?
That's amazing.
There is
I love.
one thing I want to make sure that we do talk about, because you're talking about, the craziness out there in the world. I got involved with the cannabis space with a company called Your Way Cannabis, and so I don't know if we have any more time.
Yeah, I want to hear about all that. So please go ahead. Tell us about that.
Well, I mean, cannabis, not everybody loves it. It's federally, it is not approved, but it's a business that is going to be here for the rest of eternity. Okay. Many states are now legalized for recreational cannabis. Many states have medical cannabis. Florida is a medical state, but many states you can just go in with a driver's license and buy. So a company our company is a public company, formerly called Hollister, that has now changed names, and we're rebranding the company because we brought a lot of talent in, and it's called Your Way Cannabis. It's a pubco on the Canadian Exchange, and we have an amazing branded part of our company in the state of Arizona. There's a brand called Venom, and so Jacob Cohen was the founder of Venom, and he created a company that grew to tens of millions of dollars a quarter, by the way, close to doing $100 million a year just in the state of Arizona, and built an amazing little business. And now that got folded into the pubco, and now Your Way Cannabis is creating branded products that we own, and we have a lot of other directions that we're going to be taking with the company. We have our own brands, we have partner brands, and then we also have control label brands. So thank you for sharing that. There is on the left side is Venom, and the Old Pal and Arrow are a couple of partnerships that we have. So I'm excited about the cannabis space for a lot of reasons, but I think that right now the folks that get involved with cannabis today, when things turn around on the federal side, they're going to be in on the ground floor of an industry that is exploding. So every year they keep upping how big the industry is going to be. It's $20 billion plus industry in a few years. So I mean, we're talking about a lot of potential growth in the cannabis space.
Yeah, I think if you live in LA, like Shaahin and I do, we saw it 5-10 years ago because it's so progressive. The rest of the country doesn't really know that there's a head shop on every corner. So it's a huge industry waiting to happen. Did you say you could white label that? Like, how can our viewers participate in that? Obviously, we can't all have equity in that company, but is there a white label opportunity? Because Shaahin is one of the world's leaders in Amazon coaching. He teaches you how to take products. Can you sell that on Amazon, or is it not available yet?
No. I mean, at this stage, we white labeling is one term that we use, but we also we also call, when you think about it, like Trader Joe's has its own label. It's not necessarily a white label, but it's its own label. So I think this is kind of what our goal is. Yes, we can partner with other brands and create. Your Way is all about people in today's world are going to consume cannabis in different ways, right? Some people want to smoke the flower, others are smoking the vape, others are into the gummies, so it's, Your Way Cannabis is all about creating brands that are going to allow the retailer to really solve the customer's needs to be able to consume cannabis in the way that they would like. That's the bottom line. And yes, we can create, I mean, Venom is only in Arizona right now, but near term, we do expect, yes, it's a public company, so we haven't made all the announcements yet, but there will be some announcements on the growth potential of taking some of our existing brands like Venom into other markets for sure.
So we don't do, we've done shows on CBD, which, we identified very early on as being, huge market. I know we've talked to, I believe Jean-Paul DeJuria, who I know who's invested millions and millions in cannabis farm up in Nevada,
Yep.
where they're growing.
He was a shark on Shark Tank for a few segments way back.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
Now
Good
you don't appear to me as a pothead at all. Have you, in your time, experimented or?
So as a son of a bartender and a bar owner, I enjoyed beer and liquor as a young man, and when I turned 50, and I'm in my 60s now, so I'm an old entrepreneur. But when I turned 50, I just decided, you know what, I've had enough. I've done enough drinking in my life. I stopped drinking, and I was, I said to myself, this is, I want to get healthy. I want to live a long time. And so now you've commented on my energy and all of that. So guess what? Drinking would sort of relax me at the end of the day, and I get a good night's sleep. So now I stopped drinking. I'm trying to go to bed. It's midnight. And I'm like bouncing off the walls still because my brain's still going. So 2 years ago, a friend said, because I now was going to doctors, getting sleeping pills, and I'm taking Ambien. And I'm like, the heck, this is terrible stuff. I wake up all skitsed out from the Ambien. And so a friend said, you got to try indica. It's the one that puts you to sleep, the cannabis, right? And wow, after a short period of time of trying, I'm like, at night, take a couple puffs and bang, I'm sleeping like a baby. And so now I have the Aura ring, okay? And I got to tell you, blown away by how this can actually track all your different sleeping things, your deep sleep, your REM sleep, your this, your that. And I have proven using the Aura ring that cannabis gets me into a deeper sleep, into a REM for hours a night. It's unbelievable. So yes, I'm not a pothead all day long. It's an evening thing prior to going to bed, but it's also, as an entrepreneur, I've invested in a fund also called Cannapreneur, and so between Your Way Cannabis and Cannapreneur, got my toes in the water, and I'm really excited about the industry because let's put it this way: in the state of Arizona, there's more tax that the state gets from cannabis than they get from liquor. So that'll prove to you that, and do you think other states are going to want to get that kind of revenue also? If they can take the liquor revenue tax-wise and double it by allowing recreational cannabis, there's going to be a lot of money coming into play. And so I think you're going to see some explosive things once the feds legalize.
Sure. Yeah. It just makes sense. I mean, it's about time. And so I think we're all very interested to see what happens next there. I think we got a couple hurdles that everyone's attention is on right now that we don't need to go into. Yeah. But I think once we get past, we're past COVID, we get past this war thing, then, things will start changing in the economy. And I think that's definitely going to be one of the drivers. So that's awesome. All right. So thank you so much for being on, Kevin. How can people get in touch with you if people are interested in investing in one of your projects or connecting with you? How can people find you?
So if they go to Kevin Harrington, and it's spelled HARRINGTON.TV, that's my website. And there's free reports and downloads and things there. You can actually, if somebody actually wants to reach me, there's places to leave messaging there. And I can't take every call, obviously, but my son reviews everything and brings me the things that I need to see. So if somebody, and I'll leave it this way, if you have a listener that would like to reach me, if they go to you, you'll let me know that I need to talk to somebody. Okay. So let's have that kind of relationship, but they can also check out our website, get some free reports, and we'd love to invite them. We have events coming up. Brandon Adams, who you mentioned, we've got 2 events that we're going to be putting on. I think one in April, one in May. And so we invite people down to hang out with us. I like, you know, I hang out with people one-on-one and love, it's just something about taking over 50,000 pitches over the last 40 years. And I continue to do that. And it's the lifeblood of how people connect with me. So love taking pitches and talking to entrepreneurs.
I love that, guys. It's go to the events. You get Kevin's ear. It's like, you know, pitching the ultimate, pitching a shark. It's kind of like being in an elevator with Sting and being able to practice one of your Police songs. So it's awesome. Kevin, people are asking on Insta and Facebook Live, how do they find information on Canapreneur that you mentioned? Is there a website for that?
Yeah, let's see. I'm just going to try real quick to let you know.
Sure.
I think it's canapreneur.com. But I'm gonna just plug that in and make sure. So sorry.
So canapreneur.com. He also talked about.
I'll try that.
Yeah.
And did the Your Way, you put that up?
Yep. We'll add all these to the show notes. So anybody that's interested, go on to Hack and Grow Rich. The YouTube channel. You can also get us on Instagram at Hack and Grow Rich. Make sure to follow up and check out Kevin's website and all he's got going and the exciting companies that he's got. And we'll update that here. And we can include a link to the Canapreneur website also.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you a link because I don't think it's the .com, but it will be. It will be something here. Let's see. I am on their website. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You can.
I'll find it for you and I'll let you know.
Yeah, great. All right. So super appreciate it, Kevin. Thank you so much for being on. We'll look forward to having your boys on as well in the coming months.
That would be great. I'll give your regards to Brandon and look forward to meeting you in person someday. Thanks. It's a great interview and great questions. Thanks for hanging out with me. Both of you guys.
Thanks.
Okay.
Super fun. All
Take
right.
care.
We'll see you soon. Okay.
Bye-bye.
All right. So as Kevin has left the building.
That was fun. That was a good interview, man. That was a kick.
I think it's super fun. I mean, it's always exciting to see people that have not only achieved success, but have also been able to access the celebrity machine. So this is a guy who's worked with Kim Kardashian and people like Kanye West and people like 50 Cent, who he's worked with and launched products with. And what I find most exciting about Kevin is that he still has that kind of hustler mentality. Like, you get the sense that this dude is there. Doesn't matter that he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He wants to sell you some shit, and he's not going to stop until you fucking buy it, which is unbelievable. And
well, he's gamifying it, because clearly it's not about you making the money. It's a game to figure out how to create a problem, solve a problem, put a new product out. It sounds really quite fun, actually, to be around people that have that kind of passion for business, opposed to just that. And I learned something new. I had no idea Richard Branson was why he kind of came on the scene. He sold his company probably for hundreds of millions. He's sitting around playing golf, and Branson's like, "Hey, nobody knows your name." What? Like, that's a great story, because I did the opposite. I started in my 20s trying to make myself famous, and he was under the radar for 40 years until he's like, "Oh, maybe I should brand myself." And I think you're doing something that's going to help not only me but our listeners too. You've got a branding company coming up, Shaahin, where you can get them on podcasts. You can help them sort of create this kind of brand, because not everybody can do what I do pretty naturally, which is sit and talk and do books and TV shows. Like, that's not a skill you just come out of the womb with. How do you take authors and entrepreneurs and help them get this kind of media exposure?
So we just launched our podcast agency. And so this is one of the secrets that a lot of entrepreneurs and people that have reached fame may not share with you. And I wanted to share with everybody here is that if you see shows like this, like Hack and Grow Rich, people get on these shows. Why? Because it is the most effective, most powerful way now, the least expensive way to build your authority. and which is why we've launched Podcast Cola, which is our new podcasting agency. We run a flat fee. It is.
You were showing a shirt that we didn't see. Is there something you were trying to do? You look skinny, by the way, which is good. Podcast Cola, like there's Coca-Cola?
Podcast Cola. You guys can go to podcastcola.com and get on our list. We haven't launched the site yet, but we will. But for anybody that's interested, if you're interested in being in dynamic shows like Hack and Grow Rich, like some of the great shows that are out there, there are hundreds of thousands of podcasts that influence people on a big scale. They're evergreen. Podcasts live forever. You can record a podcast today and people will be listening to it 6 months, a year, 6 years down the line. And they reach an audience that is highly targeted. Reach out to me. I'm going to give you my direct email. If you're interested in being on this podcast or other podcasts, Podcast Cola can do that for you. We booked one client who's an author, amazing guy, on 45 podcasts last month, and his book hit Amazon bestseller and Wall Street Journal bestseller in that same month. Wow. So it is, if you're going to be running Facebook ads, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 a month doesn't even make a dent. Unless you are a super pro. If you're running LinkedIn ads, if you're doing traditional TV advertising, forget about it. Radio advertising, forget about it, right? None of that's going to work. Sorry, I just watched Goodfellas again. It's so good. But podcasts can be done very inexpensively, and we run a low flat fee rate. We've got amazing publicists on board that can be dedicated to you, whatever it is that you do. Try to get booked on some podcasts. And if you want to learn how to do it, I'll do a 15-minute call with you. Reach out to me. My email, I'm going to share it with everybody here on Instagram Live, Facebook Live, is darkzess@gmail.com. That's DARKZESS@gmail.com. Reach out to me directly. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'll book a 15-minute call with you, and we'll see if being on podcasts is correct for you. If you're interested in becoming an Amazon seller, creating predictable recurring revenue, I will give my $200 1-hour course for free. And you can get that by reaching out to me on that same email. Let me know what you're interested in. It is darkzess@gmail.com, DARKZESS@gmail.com. My book, Billion, How I Became King of the Thrill Pill Cult, is out now. Amazon, Audible, wherever you want to find books. Make sure you like and subscribe to this show with me and Bart called Hack and Grow Rich. We are on YouTube, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever podcasts are found. Make sure to comment and engage us. Let us know. And Bart, if I am interested in engaging with you, how do I get a hold of you?
Well, most people can always just Google me for bartbaggett.com. I love my Instagram followers. That would be great. There's a site called getbartsbook.com, and you can download, either one of my best-selling books for free. You can go to Amazon and buy it. You can go to Audible and buy it. But I really think writing books is the way I give back. And I think people that read books or read my books become my customers, become my friends. Like I look back at my friend list over the years, and many of them showed up in seminars because they read a 100-page book. So if you're writing books or you feel like you might want to be a celebrity, I love the idea of working with you in your podcast. Most people don't know this, but before the internet showed along, I did like 500 interviews from my phone or in a studio, and that was extraordinary amount of work to book those interviews back on terrestrial radio. Now the outreach was crazy. I mean, when I was on Howard Stern, we had 3 million people listen. We made $30,000 in half an hour on the phone, right? But those days are gone. And so now podcast has replaced that, and it's evergreen. So the fact that you have an agency is ridiculously interesting because it took me a long time to find a team of people to book me on that many shows. And so, yeah, I love what you're doing, Shaahin. GetBartsBook.com if you want to connect with me. Follow me on Instagram. Keep track of us. I love this show. This is a great fun. I'll be launching a new podcast later this year called The Bart Show. And so please, check out for that. And again, subscribe to this, listen to us, send us emails, questions. And if you have any great guest ideas or you yourself think you want to be on the show, hit us up. If you're an entrepreneur and have a great hack or a story to make our lives better, we may say yes and pull you in. Shaahin, back to you, brother. Good show.
Yeah, it's been such a great show, guys. Thank you for joining us. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment. If you hate us, make sure to troll us. It all helps. So either way, Thank you guys. Reach out to us, and we'll see you guys on the next episode where we have an amazing surprise guest that I think hasn't talked in public in a long time. So we will see you guys on the next show.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.